Hello there, beautiful people. I'm Tracy Rigdon.
And I'm Shelton Hall.
And this is the Contrast Project. We have a lot of stuff going on,
Yes.
Not just locally, but in the country. It's really been a busy year. It's been a busy couple of weeks. And we're going to have a really good program today. First off, we have the one and only Mr. Joe Talentino here from I Know Jax.
Yep.
And we're also going to be talking to Tanisha Crisp, local community action leader.
Yes, absolutely.
But before we get started, I wanted to go off on that rant about something locally that was pretty disturbing. So far, as of today, which is Tuesday, September the 8th, 2020, we have in Jacksonville alone over 222 shootings.
Yeah.
And that's more than all of 2019.
Pretty close, yeah.
2019 was 219 shootings. Of those, 122 were homicides, and 100 of those were deemed murder. So in 9 months, we've had 100 murders in Jacksonville. That's a horrifying number. And like you and I were talking in the last episode about the police, buying a lot of military surplus with their money, and they're fully armed and all this gear. They're spending a lot of money on this new gear and technology and stuff, but there's not much money going into community engagement, very little anyway. Yeah. And you see in the news sometimes a lot of that crime, people will say, well, it's only happening on that side of town.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get that off my chest before we get started. But
well, it's happening. It's happening in all parts of town. It's happening all over the country. It's not just a Jacksonville thing. Even in this past Labor Day weekend, Chicago, you had 56 people shot in Chicago, 8 of them killed. Most of them didn't even rap. So it's really starting to spread out like across the whole society. And here in Jacksonville, last year was probably the worst year for gun violence in 15, 20 years, perhaps. We're already like less than 10 shootings short of last year's total, which was an almost historically high number. And, we're still only in September. So we're going to, by the end of this year, we're probably going to have potentially more shootings in Jacksonville than any year before. And we may break the homicide total as well. And, I don't expect that to get any better coming into next year.
No.
We've had, over the last 10, 20 years, just an overall trend in this country of an escalation in gun violence. And also, we were mentioning the police earlier, 70%, I believe, of last year's homicides were unsolved. And this year, probably about the same. So now we have a whole cadre of known shooters walking the streets out here, people with 2, 3, 5, maybe 10 bodies on them. Easily, I would just guess based on the numbers, at least 100 killers just out there now, and they know that they can act with impunity. The community often has been sort of pressured not to communicate with the police, not to snitch, as they call it.
Right.
And the police aren't making that much of an effort. And in their defense, there's not much they can do right now. The time to really crack down on this would have been 10 or 15 years ago. Now we're pretty much behind the 8 ball. Right. Not in a good way.
Yeah. And local sheriff, just like we mentioned last time too, he's just recently asked for more money. Yeah. And it's just going to go into gear.
Yeah.
So
no one has any real solutions.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure they mean well. I'm sure they're trying, but I mean, you let it fester for
Well, let's move on to something a little bit more positive.
Good. Yes.
You recently wrote an article in Void Live magazine.
I did.
About American Beach.
Yes.
And we touched on that a little bit in the last episode before the article came out. And so let's talk a little bit more about, American Beach, the culture out there, and,
Well, sure. All right. The article is in this, the fall 2020. Yeah, it's 2020 issue of Void, page 48. I went out there. American Beach was really one of the first sort of recreational enclaves for the black community here in Northeast Florida. It was founded by Abraham Lincoln Lewis, who was Florida's first black millionaire. He worked with the Afro-American Life Insurance Company, which is based in Jacksonville. and he wanted to create a place where black folks could come out and enjoy the beaches. Like this past Labor Day weekend, that's a perfect example of when a place like that would be very useful. Because, beach access for black folks back in the 20th century, in the days of Jim Crow, was very hard to get. River access, beach access, lake access, God forbid, swimming pools. And stuff. So it worked very well in the 30s and 40s. It was into the 50s. It was one of the most well-known recreational spots for black people around the country. It had major artists like Duke Ellington, Ray Charles, and whatnot who came through there. And then, as we got into like the 60s and 70s, things kind of went downhill. Not aggressively downhill, but just sort of neglect. Like we see in a lot of historic neighborhoods, once desegregation happened, a lot of capital kind of flew out of these like inner city communities and places like American Beach. Mm-hmm. But then thanks to a lady named Myvene Betch, who we call the Beach Lady. Her family her grandfather was Mr. A.L. Lewis. She has family going back to Zephaniah Kingsley, Anna Kingsley, and she sang opera in Europe for about a decade before coming back to Florida in the 70s, and she became like a one-woman advocacy operation for American Beach.
She was an icon out
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And many of us here, many of us watching this may have had experience with her over the years. And then by the time she died in 2005, the beach had achieved some historic designation. And when you go out there now, it's really nice. It's right by Fernandina, so it's a fun place to just go. One of our most beautiful beaches, lots of great food, and the architecture is really nice. Like those houses, like up in that beach area. And it's a really clean beach. That's one advantage to the fact that it's not patronized as much as it should be. We want to get more people out there, but very little pollution, not a lot of crowding.
People in the community out there, they take pride in the beach.
They do.
That's the reason why the area is so clean.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. There was recently a pretty big article in the Times Union about the Gullah Geechee people, and they're celebrating them, and they talked about this huge settlement that was in Jacksonville. In the late 1800s, a large group of Gullah Geechee people settled in there, and it became one of the largest settlements of its kind in the country. And then, of course, as with everything else in downtown Jacksonville, pretty much got decimated by the Great Fire. And so people, migrated out again, to find other places to live while Jacksonville was being rebuilt. Is there any connection? I know it was several years later, 1947, that American Beach was founded, correct?
35,
37?
Something like
So you've got a wide gap of time there, but was there a connection with the Gullah Geechee people, or do they have an influence on American Beach? Is their influence noticeable there?
Well, there's certainly an influence, maybe a bit more subtly. I think that the Gullah Geechee influenced the roots of that culture. Like a generation of black folks in this community probably didn't really have access to it. It's only been the last few years that we started seeing it and hearing more and more about it thanks to social media. Social media has done a lot to help people of my generation, younger, sort of reach back and kind of figure out their roots. DNA testing and things like that are very good. So it's there, but it's more subtle. The Geechee Gullah people, they're still working to expand their advocacy and to get that brand out there. And let me also say about American Beach, if you want even more info on American Beach, our friend Nikisha Elise Williams, who has a great new book out, she did a really nice article about American Beach for thebittersoutherner.com, which I think is maybe the definitive thing I've read on American Beach so far. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know. I know that when they were talking about the Gullah Geechee settlement in Jacksonville, it immediately made me think of the presence that I noticed when I've been in Savannah and Tybee Island, because you can see their culture all in Tybee Island when you go in there.
Oh yeah.
In the art, as a matter of fact, they've got little small art galleries up there that is all Gullah Geechee centric, you might say.
Yes.
It has their influence written all over it.
Mm-hmm. It's like the sort of the subtle influence of like, you know, the Creole culture.
Oh yeah,
You know, and the Highwaymen, the old the painting clique from back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, art is just one of those things that it's more than just art. It is history.
Absolutely.
You'll see a historical imprint on much of the art that you see.
Yeah.
Around even in Jacksonville. But you get into some of the other cultural clique areas, and you'll see the different art forms.
Oh yeah, the diversity of this whole state. 67 counties. They're all kind of weird in their own way, and nowadays it's never been easier to put those pieces together. Whether you're researching your own genealogy or the history of your community, trying to get like insight into the history of certain properties.
Yes.
And like they say, the more you know about your past, the better prepared you are for the future.
Right. Well, that's very good. That's very good. Coming up on the next segment, we're going to have the one and only Mr. Joe Talentino from I Know Jax. Mm-hmm. So stick around, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Inside a secret that you don't understand. You let them put a hitch in your sacred plan. Are you looking for another way to make it through? Oh no. Oh, guess what, my friend? You know the problem is you. Oh no. Last call, baby. Don't give me no lines. You hit the gas pedal at the end of the line. Should've known from the start you get a broken heart. All I needed was for you to not fall apart. One day your soapbox will become a gallows. As you hang from the seat, I won't taste the sour. I guess it's my fault, 'cause I was only a coward. 'Cause in the end, I gave you my power. Oh no, last call, baby, don't give me no lines. You hit the gas pedal at the end of the line. Should've known from the start you get a broken heart. All I needed was for you to not fall apart. I don't fall apart. I don't fall apart. Don't fall apart.
Hey guys, we're back with Joe Talentino here from I Know Jax, and I can't for the life of me think if there's anybody in Jacksonville that hasn't heard of you. Or
I'm sure there's a couple.
I Know Jax, yeah. So tell us a little bit about what I Know Jax is.
Well, for the folks out there that don't know about I Know Jackson, I know there are quite a few still. It's a local television show. We're independently produced about places to eat, drink, and be local, and that's sort of our motto: is eat local, drink local, be local. And there's not a time where that is more important than right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We were talking earlier about the pandemic, and that's been on everybody's on their Facebook feeds, the restaurants that were shuttered.
I'm glad everybody's finally getting on board. I've been preaching it for 10 years, and it really is sort of dire straits out there right now.
Right.
For local business.
And not only the small businesses, but in what you do, how has the pandemic hit you?
Well, since my main focus is local restaurants and a lot of craft breweries and local distilleries, all of them were shut down for a good amount of time. So, revenue-wise, obviously that was not good for me. Wasn't great for the whole local economy as a whole. They're slowly starting to come back. A lot of restaurants are starting to pivot, doing different things with takeout, family dinners, and that type of thing, where things happen outside the restaurant. It's no longer the dining experience in the same way. And I'm talking to a lot of well-known restaurants that are worried about making it through the end of the year. So, if you can go out and instead of buying from the big box stores, Mickey D's doesn't need your money, but our local guys do.
Yes, they do. And even the ones that are going to try to open up, it's going to be a struggle for the restaurants because they're at far less capacity.
Sure.
So that in and of itself,
half the dining room has to stay open by law or stay closed by law. That's tough. And there are actually some local restaurants that are opening now because they had started the process of putting it together, and they had to open. There's a small little Vietnamese restaurant that opened out on Beach Boulevard just a couple of weeks ago. And, I'm just got my fingers crossed that those guys are going to be able to survive through. They deserve to. They do a good job. So, the eat local, drink local, be local thing, let's make that a lifestyle instead of a slogan.
I believe that. And you were mentioning the craft breweries. A lot of them are really having a hard time now because some of them have said they've got their food and beverage license, got their food license from the state.
They're serving hot dogs.
They're serving hot dogs. You know what I'm talking about.
Roller food, Hey, well, here's what it is unfortunately the state government isn't as bright as we want it to be. And sorry, whoever might be in that government. And they were applying the rules in such a weird way where they were allowing restaurants to serve beer.
Right.
You have a brewery, just because they didn't serve food, we're not allowed to do on-premise serving. So to kind of get around that, a lot of them now have started serving food of different sorts, and most of them are hot dogs, roller food, whatever.
That's right.
Or several of them are also helping out the local food trucks by having the food trucks in, but that really depends on where they're at. And I also want to say that it's not just the breweries. We have a lot of local tap rooms that are struggling with the same problem, and those are the, like the Alewife Brews and San Marco Beer 30, those kind of places. We need to make sure we're supporting those guys too, because they don't have the distribution of maybe packaged goods like a Intuition has in grocery stores, so they can kind of live on that a little bit. The ones that aren't distributed are the ones to think about a little bit more.
One of the craft breweries that comes to mind, for me personally, that would be easy for them to do social distancing is Lemon Street.
Oh yeah,
that room is so huge,
Tabula Rasa is giant. I mean, a lot of them have a lot of space.
A lot of space in there. So if if they do get, if they
And they have
finally
outdoor
get to open
seating as
up,
well.
yeah. But and Joe Baez, I know him personally. We go way back. So if if you're watching, keep your eye on Lemon Street for us, okay?
Yeah, no. And the local craft beer scene here is pretty amazing. When I started the TV show, it's almost 10 years ago, and it will celebrate 9 years on air in November. There were four local breweries, and there's over 20 now. So that's how much the scene has grown, which is awesome. But when things are cut back, that means there's a smaller market for all of those people to deal with.
Oh, absolutely.
So do your best to spread the love. Get out there and drink some great local craft beer, and definitely pick up your food. I mean it, guys. It's a huge difference if you're doing a party or whatever. Don't order pizza from one of the big box guys. Find one of our local pizzerias and order pizzas from them. Papa John's isn't going to go under if you don't give them their business, but the local guys, getting a few pies more in a day can make a big difference for their employees.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you for coming out here today.
Absolutely, anytime.
And where can people find you online?
It's I Know Jax pretty much everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and then Sunday nights at 6:30 p.m. on CW17.
CW17 Sunday nights. What time?
6:30 p.m.
6:30. Tune it in. Coming up next, we'll be talking to Community Action Leader, Ms. Tanisha Crisp. Stay tuned. We're rolling. Welcome back, kids. I have here with me today local Community Action Leader, small business owner, Ms. Tanisha Crisp.
Hey, Tracy.
Glad you could come.
It's nice to finally come.
Before I even get started, I wanted to first of all congratulate you on your recent commission.
Thank you.
As an Army veteran myself, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Well, we wanted to talk a little bit today about something you've been working on for a while. You mentioned when we were at your last event at Mackey's, the Light Up the Night after back to school event, where you were giving out backpacks and supplies and information to kids going back to school and everything, which was a total success, I imagine.
Yeah, it was.
It was. Well, tell us about this big thing you've got coming up in October.
Okay. So the Black Lives Matter 5K was recently launched. So our first event is the first annual Black Lives Matter 5K. It is being held October 3rd. And we are doing it in downtown Jacksonville. So this is the first one in the state of Florida. No one else has done this. There has been some small ones virtually throughout the United States, they have held them just a few around the United States. But this is actually the first organization that has been launched for Black Lives Matter 5K and a walk run for communities. So that makes it really cool, and we're honoring the Black community. It is a Black celebration to where everyone all over, we can come together and we can honor the Black community from family.
Yeah. And it'll be a family-friendly event.
Yes, it's family-friendly event. Children of all ages are welcome. And we've made it a walk run so everyone can be able to participate.
Because not everybody can do a 5K run.
Not everybody can run. Sometimes I have my days still.
I'm a big fan of the mud runs.
Oh,
And I wind up walking half of it.
Yeah, because you be all pumped up and then you get out there. It's just like,
That's right.
I got to walk a little bit. So, so we did that, and we do have a virtual option as well. So everyone all over the United States can participate.
And there's going to be vendors there.
Yes, so we're actually going to have a live band, the band Be Easy.
Love them.
Yeah, they're amazing. And we're going to have vendors, all types of vendors, from your food trucks, clothing. You have skincare, you got mental health, therapists there. You have nonprofit organizations. They're either Black-owned businesses or they support the Black community. So it's going to be amazing.
And you have some Black Lives Matter 5K swag available too.
Yes.
Shirts and hats and
Yes. So we have right now we have shirts. We are going to be releasing more merchandise here pretty soon. But the shirts are one of the shirts are actually Nike on them, and we have our own T-shirts, so which is pretty cool.
Very good, very good. And so if people want to find you and find out a little bit more about the event, they can find you on Facebook, correct?
Yes. So
and you have a website as well.
we have Facebook and Instagram. So if you type in our username, just put in Black Lives Matter 5K, or if you want to shorten it, just put the BLM 5K on both Facebook and Instagram. And then our website is called blm5k.com. So actually for this event, we partner with First Place Sports. First Place Sports, they have 4 stores.
It's a good sponsor.
Yeah, so they're actually So for this event, you're actually going to be able to go into a First Place Sports stores and pick up your race packet. So we made it really convenient for everyone during the pandemic. So you can go on their website too, as well, to register and sign up at firstplacesports.com for the event.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you could come out today and talk about it. You've been getting a lot of press about this lately.
Yes, a lot of people are excited.
It's going to be a big event. I think it's going to be a huge success.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We're going to be there.
Yes, of course. We love to have you guys. Yes, of course.
Well, Tanisha, thanks for coming. And always a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you at the 5K. Okay. We'll probably bump into you before then anyway.
No. You guys stay busy. I'm staying busy. We'll try.
Okay.
Try to do a dinner before or something.
All right. Until next time.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Well, that's a wrap, kids. Shelton, always a pleasure.
Definitely.
Always a pleasure.
Great session.
You can find Contrast Project on Facebook. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on our Facebook page. And on YouTube, like, share, comment, and don't forget to
Smash the like button.
subscribe button.
The subscribe button. Yes.
Smash all the buttons.
Smash them all.
That's right. That's right. Until next time, peace.